I am Lizzy with Long Distance Gamers. We are a group of friends who play games remotely due to living in different states. Today I am talking about Rolling Realms. What do I think about it? And more importantly, how do we play it remotely? Now before we get started, there are of course two different sides. The side running the game, they for sure have a copy and they play the game mostly as normal. The remote side may or may not have a copy. We will be going over how the remote side sets up and how the remote side responds to the game. And just one final note, Jamie Stonemaier actually sent us this game because we are remote gamers, so bear that in mind when we do get to our final thoughts, but let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is Rolling Realms. So what the running side has done is they have sent me a copy of all of these, and they were kind enough to send me a set of dice and a few of the holes for the solo version, which we will get to in a bit. So this is what you would want to give to every player, so send it in the mail or, play in person. But if you are playing remotely, the remote side will need at least one set of everything you see here. So how the game plays is we go over 3 rounds. The running side will go ahead and roll the die, and we'll call out what they are. So we have a 2 and a 6. Every other side will mark them right here. And then what happens is 3 of these will be in front of the players that they will be playing. They'll be the same 3 no matter what side you're on. But let's go ahead and go over how each of these different realms plays. So Tapestry, depending on which dice you use. So if we use the 6, for instance, we get to use this big thing. So then we could cover up this much space and fill that all in. If it was the 2, we would only be able to fill up that much space. But basically, you choose one of the dice to add to each individual realm. So you have 3 realms in front of you. You get to choose 1 dice per realm in order to be able to utilize this. So we wouldn't have been able to do both of those. But once you get an entire big row or column filled, so if you get this filled, that is worth a star. And if you get this filled, that is worth a star. Now when you fill up one of these small squares, you get the resource inside. So in here you would get the coin. So if you would get that all filled, you would get that coin. And then if you get this filled, you would get the heart. For Viticulture, what happens is you get to first select one of these. So if we use that 2, we'd get to fill that. If we would instead use the 6, we would fill out this. Then you would get the resource. So with the 2, you would get a gold coin. And so with that, you would just circle it in. And then we will get over how to use this. But then when you use it, I just cross it off. But over here, you would get the pumpkin. And then later on, so say we rolled a 4 and a 5 in the next roll. We could then take the 5, for instance, combine it with this 6, which adds up to 11, and then we can get this 11. So then that would be 2 stars. And that's how you score in Viticulture. For Euphoria, this is based on what die you cross off and then the total number. So if you cross off this 1 first, you would get a gold coin. If you would cross off this 6, we now have 7, and that would get us a star. And then if we cross off the 5, that would get us 12, and then we would have a pumpkin and a heart, and it's the same on both sides. So, but you add up each individual one separately. So this total is different than that total. Then we have the Society, which as you can see in the artwork, you might recognize it from Red Rising. So this is not called Red Rising simply because there might be IP issues. So eliminate that and call it something else. So awesome. So this one, it kind of works in completing the rows will get you some resources. And then completing sets of triangles will get you the stars that you need. So how you fill this out, let's go ahead and erase that, is the biggest numbers need to be on the top. So if a 6 is here, you need to have a 5 or less than that here, and then you could have like a 2 here. But if you have a 4 here, you could only have a 3, 2, or 1 here. But you also got to be careful because you want to have the lower numbers for the bottom. For Wingspan, you would get the resources listed down here. So you have to go from left to right for each bird. So if we have that 4, we could put a 4 here. And we would get the pumpkin. So we would then go ahead and come over here and circle the pumpkin. And then if we would get a 1 in the future, we would get this coin. And then if we would get a 2 in the future, not only do we get the star for completing this column, or that section, we have 7 points total, so it matches this wingspan up here, so we get another star. And that's the same for each of these. Just, you get the resource, and then if you match this number to this number, you get another star. For between two castles, you have to go from the bottom up. So if we have the 5 here, for instance, if we would want to place a number here, we would have to go lower. This could be a 4, for instance. And then completing a column gets you the resource on top, so we would get 2 hearts. And then completing a row in the castle, so completing this area, would get us a star. So each castle has 3 stars potential for each of the 3 rows in their castles. For Scythe, the top gets you a resource, the bottom you can spend resources, but they get you the stars. So if we would have that 5, for instance, we could spend the 5, we would get a heart. But then in order to use this down here, we would need to spend a coin and then get a star. We were able to do that in one fell swoop because of the rules here. However, if you have a 6 and you want to just spend the 6 and a pumpkin, you do have to spend the resource regardless, then you could get a star without having to do the 2 and getting a heart. So you get resources on top, and when you do a top action, you could immediately go ahead and do the bottom action if you have the resources to spend. Otherwise, at a later time, you could just spend a resource with the die on the bottom and then be able to get the star. Between two cities, this one you're just trying to fill up the rows or the columns. So if you have the 1, 2, and 3, you would get the 2 coins. However, the only thing is you cannot have numbers orthogonally adjacent to each other. So what that means is I could have a 2 here, but I could not then place a 2 here because not only is it adjacent to here, it's adjacent to here. So likewise, I could not place a 1 there. That would not be allowed. I could place a 4 there though, and then get the resources because of completing the row. The stars work by whatever is between the other 2 realms in the round. Whichever one of those, the lesser. So if you get 2 stars in one and 4 stars in the other, this one would be worth the 2 stars. For Pendulum, what you can do is you could either, for any die, get one of these tops or cross off the applicable die. So if we have the 5 over here, we would then cross off the 5. Once you complete an entire one of the timers, you then get whatever you have up here. So this would get you 1 star. If I had this done, for instance, I would get 2 stars, a heart, and a coin. So the only way to get 6 stars is to have both of these filled out. Okay, so Charterstone works like this. So if we would have used Charterstone for this, we would have had either 2 or 6 for this first one. So if we would have done 2, we would have placed the 6 here. We would gain the pumpkin, and then the 6 could be used in a different realm. This is just used for that. And then we could do the 5, for instance, and place a 4 down here. We would get the coin, and then the 4 would be used in another realm. Later on, say we rolled a 2 and a 4, we could then cross off this 4 and get 1 star. If you had multiple 4s, for instance, if this was the case, we would have gotten 3 stars just by using 1 4. My Little Scythe, so say we rolled the 2 and the 4, and we wanted to use the 2 in this round, we would just cross off the 2 on either side. If I crossed it off here, I would get a pumpkin. If I crossed it off here, I would get a heart. Now, if ever in the time you get both numbers crossed off in both of these sides, you would then get a coin. For scoring it, this is at the end of a round. If you ever get 6 resources of a kind, you would then be able to get 2 stars. So this does not mean that they're spent. They could be spent or still free. You just need to have earned 6 during that round. Okay, and that's all of the rounds. So for these, you have 2 choices for everything. So 2, if you spend 2 pumpkins, if you spend 2, you would then get to add plus or minus to the die. If you would have spent 3 instead, you would then get to add plus minus 1 or keep it the same, but then you can use that die in the same realm. Because like we said earlier, you can only spend 1 die per realm per die roll. So that makes it so that you can put 2 die in the same realm with the same die roll and not have any issues. Hearts, if you roll a pair, you could spend 2 hearts and then be able to just add another die. So that way you could place, if you would roll a 2 and a 2, you would then get to place another 2 in the 3rd realm. If you had 3 hearts and then you chose to spend them, you would then get to gain either die. So it wouldn't have to be a pair. So if we had this 2 and a 4, you could choose to either get the 2 or the 4. And I always just denote it by the side just to remind myself. And then you again use that in the 3rd realm. For coins, if you have 2 coins, you could spend them. And then if the dice roll face were 7, so if we had a 3 and a 4 rolled, we could use the 2 gold and then get a 4 or a 3, whichever one you choose to get. If instead you have 6 gold, you could spend all 6 to gain a 6. So you could spend X, just X is however much you want to spend. So if you have 2 gold, you could spend 2 coins. And then of course that new die is only to be able to use in the realm that you haven't used during that round or during that roll. And then once all of these are filled up, you do get to add up all of your stars and then however many resources you had. So if you had this left over, you would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You would get 0.6 stars at the end of that round as well. And then at the end of the round, all of these resources do go away, so they do not carry over from round to round. So just a quick reminder on how it plays. You get 3 realms per round. You roll the die, you shout them out. So we get a 2 and a 6. You get to place 1 die in each realm. So if we place a 2 here, we could then place the 6 and the 2 here. Placing the 2 gets us that pumpkin. Places the 6 gets us that coin. You follow the rules of whatever realm you're doing. And then once all of these are filled up, we record our score. So maybe we had like a 6.6. Then we put those away and we grab 3 more. Of course, the running side is dictating which ones of these come out. And we restart the die roll. And we restart this and we go on. And after the 3rd round, we add up our score. See who is the winner. For solo play, you just follow the rules of whatever hole you have. So this hole number 1, you would have Charterstone, Scythe, and Tapestry. The only thing is you would have 2 less die rolls to be able to do it in. That's the only thing. You're trying to get 8 stars. If you achieve it, great. If not, you do get 4 tries before you just go ahead and move on with the hole. And then each time you do lose, depending on which way you play, if you play it on easy, you start with an additional resource. If you play it on normal, you just, well, do the normal. If you start on hard, it does tell you what the goal is for hard. See, easy, you try to get 8. Hard, you try to get 9.5. And then once you score it, now this is a printout. Jamie has more of these online. There is ones on the back of the rule book. However, that is limited. So you would put your score in or just cross it off, whichever you prefer, for each time you play. And then the number of tries. So like this took me 2 tries. So you place the number of tries in this final column over here. And then at the very end, you add them all up. And then the course par, hopefully you're below that. That is how you play Rolling Realms. Now, what do I think about it? First, I want to talk about these dice, because Jamie spent a lot of time getting these dice to be exactly how I wanted them, being able to hold them easy, roll them easy. And I really, really like the fact that there are little hexes inside there. I think that that's just a little cute, nice, cute touch. And these colors, this design of the dice is random essentially. So the colors will be the same, but as you can see, even the 5s are different. So I like that, and it's just, it adds more flavor to the game for sure. I do like how each of the realms has a little bit of touch for what the game actually feels like. So like Wingspan, you're trying to get added up to that wingspan of the birds on the top, so that adds a little bit of a challenge. Tapestry, you're trying to fill out the entire row or column that you're trying to build. Pendulum, you're dealing with those pesky timers. And Charterstone, you're just trying to open as many boxes as you can, which I really like that. But everyone has their own little flavor that is brought through, and lovers of Stonemaier Games will be able to notice that. I will say that we did have Kitty's mom play with us with this, and the ones that she didn't play, like she has not played Tapestry yet, and she said that it didn't quite inspire her to go out and play Tapestry. So don't think that you could play this game and then be like, oh, you want to play some Scythe now? We played it in the game. So just bear that in mind, that it won't necessarily encourage your friends and family members to go from this to being able to play Scythe with you. As far as each of the different ways to play, the solo play is my all-time favorites. So I love each of these set of holes. They're very well organized, so if you need a lot of resources, you generally have ones that do gain you resources. We noticed in the multiplayer that sometimes some of these combinations, because they are random, can mean like we might need one that majorly has resources while one definitely does not give them. So that can cause some issues, but these, they're very well balanced. And I really love 18 different ways to play, and just it really adds spice to the game. So with that said, multiplayer is actually my least favorite way to play, simply because you are playing just the 3 rounds, and it's based on the combinations of these of what gets to add some more variety, and that can cause those complications where you need a lot of resources but you're not getting resources, and that can leave a little bit of bad taste in people's mouths. What our group has talked about doing is playing the solo version multiplayer. So like for instance, like if we would choose hole 3 for our first round, we would just play this rule. Now obviously you want to focus on the hole, so we were thinking maybe subtract 5 stars if you don't succeed. So you need exactly 3, exactly 4, and exactly 5 stars in each of the round. If you get a 3 and a 4, but then you get a 6, then you would lose 5 stars for that. So you would get 1 star total between that realm. So just we thought about doing that, but that is not the rules as written. If you do have a way to incorporate the solo rules into multiplayer and really have people focus on the solo hole, whatever it might be, let me know in the comments below. As far as for remote play, this game, it's super easy to play. Many roll and writes are, however, this one, as long as everyone knows how to play and they have a copy of the game, you could play this without even having video. So if you're just in a doctor's office and you have the phone to your head and you want to play a quick game and you don't exactly have the ability to use video, well, you can just pull it out, have the running side, roll the dice, and you can put this there. It has a very small footprint. And you, like I said, you don't need to see what anyone else is doing. You just compare scores at the end of the game. We like to do at the end of every round, of course, and then add them up. Whoever has the most is the winner. And it's really easy to play remotely. So if that is your situation, definitely think about this. So before I get to my ratings, I do want to say I'm actually going to be spending my own money and buying a copy of this. I need to send that copy back to my friends in New York because all they sent me was 1 set so that I could film this. So I am going to be spending my own money to getting my own copy. So why am I going to do that? Mainly because of this solo. This solo holes is just phenomenal. I absolutely adore it and I love playing it. In fact, I'm going to be recording another playthrough of that if you want to go over and see that. So my rating for the solo is actually a 9 because of what I just said. It adds a lot of spice with this. It adds that puzzly aspect that you're really trying to achieve specific goals. And if you don't achieve it, you have to try again. And I play on easy so that way I can get more resources every time, which makes it a little bit easier. The multiplayer is a 6.5 out of 10 for me simply because there can be some real tension with the 3 that you choose. And some combinations are definitely more fun than others. and it can sometimes lead to a bad experience while sometimes leading to a great experience. So that is why it's 6.5. So altogether, it's a 7.75 out of 10. I do recommend it, especially if you are a Stonemaier fan and you love their games, because then you get to have a little bit of a tidbit in each of the different realms. So that's what I think, and until next time, just remember to have fun, be present, and be you. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Also, if you find value in our content, please like, comment, or subscribe. Let a friend or family member know that we exist. Help us spread our channel and bring remote gaming to a table near you. Thank you very much, and have a great day.